For decades, UFO encounters have been met with skepticism due to the lack of clear evidence, making them ambiguous and difficult to verify. But there are cases where the evidence lies not in testimony but is plainly visible on the ground. The mysterious objects left strange traces, radiation, and even metal fragments with compositions never seen in any human technology. Some people suffered burns from contact with a mysterious hot air stream, and the vegetation around the landing site of the object also withered abnormally. Additionally, there were photos of strange creatures and unexplained cases of missing time. This time, we no longer seek light from the distant sky. Instead, let us follow the traces they left right here on this ground. Ubatuba, a metal fragment not of earthly origin. In September 1957, on the shores of Ubatuba, a coastal city in southern Palawan, a group of fishermen preparing to set out to sea early in the morning were suddenly startled by a deafening explosion. Suddenly, a dazzlingly bright object appeared in the sky, streaking across at an astonishing speed, unlike any known aircraft. In just a few fleeting seconds, the object suddenly trembled, then exploded mid-air, transforming into a blinding halo of light, flaring brilliantly before abruptly vanishing. There was no billowing black smoke like a plane on fire, nor the roar of engines. Just a small metal mass falling into the sea ahead, like a dream dissolving into the waves. And it was precisely those fragments that left national studies scholars puzzled for decades afterward. A resident picked up silver-colored metal fragments that were lightweight, shiny, and not deformed. One of them sent several samples to Eberhard Soth, the renowned journalist of the Blazon newspaper at the time. Then he handed them over to the Blazon scientists for analysis. The result is that Mazzi found this with nearly absolute purity. The purity reaches 99.99%, far surpassing all contemporary industry standards. Even modern technology struggles to achieve this level. This material is completely pure, free from impurities, not industrially processed, and notably, it does not oxidize even after being submerged in seawater. The laboratory at Blazon later confirmed by international researchers. That piece of metal was completely different from any artificial material created in 1957. Additionally, there were no reports of any civilian or military aircraft accidents in the Ubatuba area at the time of the explosion. No sudden breaks, no rough fragments, only gentle, clear remnants left behind, along with countless unanswered questions. Years later, some remaining specimens were sent to the US for further study using more advanced equipment. The results remain unchanged. Maize possesses an extraordinary purity. It seems that humans could not manufacture it using conventional metallurgical techniques by the mid-20th century. To this day, the Ubatuba incident is still considered one of the rare cases where a UFO not only appeared but also left behind concrete physical evidence. So what is that object? Why did it explode? And how could its material be so pure? These remain major unsolved mysteries. One thing is certain. Something from the skies of southern Palatine fell, and it does not belong to any nation on Earth. On the afternoon of January 8, 1981, in the small town of Chain-en-Brouven in southern France, a farmer named Gilato Nicolai was working in the field. The sky was crystal clear, without a single cloud, and there was no sound of cars or planes. Everything was eerily quiet. Suddenly, he heard a strange buzzing noise. He looked up and saw a metallic, disc-shaped object slowly descending from the sky. It moved at a leisurely pace, completely silent, without making any sound. That object looked like two bowls stacked together, gleaming with a metallic silver hue, and was descending onto the patch of land right next to his camp. It didn't fall but gently descended, as if guided by some invisible force. The object appeared for only a few dozen seconds before slowly rising and disappearing. There was no explosion, no hissing sound, nor any smoke or dust. Just an indescribable sense of unease left in the hearts of those who witnessed it. Right after the incident, Mr. Nicolai approached the spot where the object had just landed and discovered the ground flattened into a circular shape, with clear scorch marks around it. The surrounding plants withered as if scorched from within. He immediately reported the incident to the local police. Surprisingly, the case was taken up by UFO, a research agency under the French National Space Center, for investigation and clarification. The ground analysis results indicate that the landing site of the object shows signs of sudden heating exceeding 300 degrees Celsius, with compacted soil and altered mineral structure. The trees growing near the affected area also exhibited abnormal biological phenomena, with deformed plant tissue cells, slowed growth rates, and signs of exposure to an unidentified source of radiation. Notably, all traces are precisely concentrated at the exact center where the object landed, rather than spreading outward as with typical natural phenomena. The most notable point is that Renito Nicolai has never shown any interest in UFOs or supernatural phenomena. He was a quiet old farmer, indifferent to the attention of others. His storytelling was always calm, without a hint of exaggeration. The Chen and Provini case is regarded as Europe's most well-documented UFO landing with physical evidence, and one of the few incidents publicly acknowledged and investigated by the national government. What is that object? Why did it appear and only linger for a few dozen seconds before vanishing? To this day, these questions remain unanswered. But if all phenomena leave traces, then the ground in Chen and Provini's study is the silent and incorruptible witness. Lonnie Zamora, a police officer, witnessed the appearance of the strange vessel. On April 24, 1964, in the small town of Socorro, New Mexico, USA. Colin Zamora, a police officer on patrol duty in the afternoon, suddenly heard a loud whooshing sound from afar, accompanied by a blinding flash of light in the sky. At first, he thought it was just a car accident or some kind of explosion. Without hesitation, he immediately turned his vehicle around and sped straight toward the source of the noise, cutting through the desolate desert area. As he approached the small valley on the outskirts of town, the sight before him nearly made his heart stop. An oval-shaped object, resembling a giant silver-white egg, lay motionless in the middle of the empty lot. Two small creatures in bright white outfits were moving around the ship, seemingly inspecting something. Zamora couldn't believe his eyes. His professional instincts kicked in, making him immediately take cover behind a rock and radio headquarters to report the situation. But before they could make further contact, a loud explosion shook the object slightly, then suddenly a blue-orange flame burst out from its base. The air suddenly grew stifling, and debris scattered everywhere. In the blink of an eye, the object shot straight up into the sky in a perfectly vertical path, without the sound of an engine or the whir of rotor blades. Then it vanished into the void, leaving the police officer frozen in utter astonishment. Zamora quickly moved to the spot where the object had just taken off. At the scene, he saw 4 symmetrical indentations deeply imprinted in the ground, resembling the marks of landing gear. Surrounding the area, the ground was scorched, with grass and debris turned pitch black. Immediately, FBI agents, U.S. Air Force personnel, and representatives from Project Blue Book, the U.S. military's official UFO research program, arrived to investigate the scene. They conducted measurements, took photos of the scene, collected soil samples, and interviewed Zamora multiple times. The results consistently show no evidence proving that he lied. Zamora's testimony was detailed and consistent, with no changes across multiple statements. Notably, he had never believed in UFOs before, and at the same time, he was reluctant to share his own story. The physical traces on the ground are all real and could not have been created by any civilian equipment available at the time. The Zamora incident was one of the rare cases classified by Project Blue Book as unexplainable by any known means. A police officer, a piece of image evidence, 2 tiny speechless creatures, and a takeoff not belonging to Earth's technology. It all happened in just a few fleeting moments, yet left impressions that still haven't faded to this day. Phoenix Light, a colossal shadow gliding through the city. On the evening of March 13, 1997, the skies over Phoenix, Arizona, suddenly became the stage for one of the largest UFO sightings ever recorded in the United States. From the suburbs to the city center, from farmlands to bustling neighborhoods, thousands of people looked up at the sky and stood frozen in awe. In the sky, a massive V-shaped object silently glided by. Beneath it radiated 5 to 7 brilliant beams of light, perfectly aligned in a row, like enormous searchlights. Its wings were so vast they seemed larger than a stadium, completely blotting out the shimmering starry sky. Some even recounted that when the creature passed by, the surrounding space suddenly turned pitch black. Not because it emitted light, but because it absorbed every trace of light around it. The most terrifying thing was that the object was completely silent, no engine noise, no sound of rushing wind, not a single disturbance could be heard. A massive shadow drifted silently past, slow and eerily quiet, as if observing everything below. The villagers called the television station and the police. The children screamed in terror, while the adults could only stand and watch with a mix of shock and dread. Everyone understood that what they were witnessing was unlike any aircraft that had ever existed on Earth. Throughout the evening, reports continuously updated on the appearance of the unidentified object not only in Phoenix but also spreading to Nevada, New Mexico, and many other more distant areas. The nearly hour-long event left thousands of witnesses puzzled and full of questions. However, Arizona state authorities and the U.S. Air Force remained silent for days, only speaking out when public pressure grew too intense. At that time, Governor Philip Symington had just held a press conference. But instead of confirming or denying, he invited an actor dressed as an alien on stage, making the audience burst into laughter and skillfully shifting to another topic. Something unbelievable. He shared that at the time, he had no choice but to calm the panicked crowd, but deep down, he believed it was something not of this world. To date, the phonic line case has yet to be officially clarified. Some believe it was a flare dropped by a military aircraft. But hundreds of witnesses have denied that. Flares cannot travel dozens of miles, move in perfect formation, and remain completely silent for nearly an hour. And if you ask the people of Phonic about that night, they will tell you a simple thing. They saw something hovering in the sky, something nameless, and that memory would stay with them for the rest of their lives. The Ulimo photo. Even after 2 hours of disappearance, no one could explain it. On a December morning in 1987, in the wild moorlands of Ulimo in the county of Ioxon, England, a place renowned for its rugged scenery and year-round thick fog, Philip Spencer, a man, experienced an event so unbelievable that even he himself could hardly believe it was real. Spencer used to be a police officer. He is calm and always thinks practically. That morning, he took his camera to capture the misty dawn scenery while walking through the wilderness. But as he crossed a small slope, he suddenly spotted a tiny creature darting swiftly through the misty haze ahead. By instinct, Spencer quickly raised his camera and snapped a single shot before the creature disappeared completely behind the rock. He tried to chase after, but when he arrived, there was not a soul in sight. Everything fell back into silence as it had been at the beginning. The story should have ended there, but Spencer suddenly glanced at his watch. The time was off. He thought he had only been out for a stroll for about half an hour, but to his surprise, the clock had already struck past 2 hours. And he couldn't remember where he had gone or what he had done during that entire time. After that, Spencer went to take photos. The photo is blurry, yet it clearly shows a strange figure, a creature standing upright, with long arms and a disproportionately large head, seemingly turning to stare straight into the lens. Its shape and posture are completely different from humans, and notably, it doesn't resemble any animal species living in that area. After that, Spencer met with a group of scientists passionate about researching UFO. When hypnotic regression was applied to uncover deeply buried subconscious memories, he recalled being taken aboard the ship by that very creature. Helpless, he was taken into a stark white room where strange creatures conducted observations and experiments on him, then returned him to the exact original location. He said all those memories only returned to this land when hypnotized. The photo of the creature was later thoroughly analyzed by many photography and imaging experts. Although the image quality is not high, they did not detect any signs of forgery or editing and confirmed it was a real photo, not a composite. Although this incident wasn't as shocking as other major events, Ulimo remains one of the most enigmatic cases, evidenced by photographs, unexplained disappearances, locked memories, and credible witnesses. All converges in a misty early morning. I saw that creature with my own eyes, captured its image, and there are 2 hours of my life I will never get back. Ilcon, when the sky was suddenly swallowed whole. On the night of December 11, 1996, in the land of Ilcon in northern Canada, where the ground was blanketed in white snow and the night sky sparkled with clear, starry brilliance. More than 30 people witnessed a strange phenomenon together. Many residents living in small towns like Folic, Carmick, and Pelly Crossing recount witnessing a massive object silently drifting slowly across the sky. Eerily quiet, seemingly defying all known laws of physics. Just big, it Some people describe it as V-shaped or resembling a boomerang, as long as a football stadium, with a series of lights lining the lower edge. Yet, what users love most about me is my absolute silence. Not a whisper of wind, no engine sound, nor any noise at all. The colossal object glided smoothly like a wisp of cloud, slowly advancing into glory, as if surveying the ground below, or perhaps merely gazing upon it. Witnesses recounted that the flying object was so low that its enormous size was clearly perceptible, causing many to instinctively step back in reaction. It didn't pass by as swiftly as a shooting star, nor did it flash past like an airplane. Instead, it moved slowly, calmly, and with clear purpose. After a few minutes gliding past residential areas, the object gradually disappeared behind the distant mountains, but its lingering presence remained etched in memory. The very next day, the radio station's hotline and local police received dozens of calls from residents across various areas. All of them describe the same thing. Although no one has captured an image of it, their accounts eerily align, from its shape, the light it emits, its size, to the direction of its movement. An independent investigation was initiated by the Canadian UFO Research Group. In their subsequent report, they confirmed that the separately collected testimonies showed no signs of being staged and all reflected genuine confusion from completely ordinary individuals. These people had never before believed in the existence of UFOs. That night, there were no reports of any civilian or military aircraft activity in the area. There are no major cosmic events capable of causing a similar phenomenon. At the same time, there is no trace of meteorites, satellite debris, or any unusual optical effects. Only one question hung in the cold sky that day. If not created by humans, where did that mysterious object come from? And why did it appear over New York? VORONIK, the strange peacock of the Emerald Forest. On the afternoon of September 27, 1989, in a public park in Voronezh City, Vietnam, the Markova children were playing with a ball as usual. The evening light was fading, yet the sky remained radiant, and the park was bustling with both adults and children. Little did anyone know they were about to witness a moment that would linger unforgettably in their memories. Suddenly, a glowing object appeared, hovering in the sky. A strange, radiant red light emanated from it, silent and still. It gently descended, landing on the lush green grass of the park. It's like searching for the exact spot to land. Upon touching down, the ground trembles slightly, and the surrounding air suddenly grows thick and suffocating. The door on the object swung open, and immediately, non-human creatures stepped out. According to witnesses, mostly children aged 9 to 12, two tall creatures appeared, estimated to be 3 meters tall, wearing silver suits, with small heads, cold black eyes, and accompanied by a machine resembling a robot. One of the two creatures held a glowing object in its hand, resembling a control device or weapon. When it raised the object, a beam of light shot out, sweeping across the grassy field. In that instant, all the witnesses felt paralyzed, unable to move or cry out. A boy in the group suddenly fainted. Just minutes later, the creature and the robot returned to the flying object, the door closed. The craft silently took off, soared into the sky, and vanished, leaving behind an eerily still, suffocating silence. When the children recounted the story to their parents and teachers, many initially didn't believe them. However, the tale quickly spread, and strangely enough, all the children described the details identically, without the slightest discrepancy. They neither exaggerated nor showed fear. They simply relayed what they had witnessed with such sincerity that even the most skeptical listeners were compelled to pay attention. Police and reporters arrived at the park where the unidentified object had landed, documenting a large circular depression in the ground with symmetrical burn marks and unusually high radiation levels. Notably, the state news agency TASS, the official press organ of the Soviet Union, reported on the incident, describing it as an inexplicable phenomenon. This is one of the rare instances where the government publicly disclosed information involving a foreign element, UFO, during the intense wartime period, when information control was tightly enforced. Voronezh was not a place where people expected to see anything beyond Earth, yet one Thursday afternoon, the children there witnessed something far beyond even an adult's imagination. To this day, no one has been able to prove they were lying. A series of cars on the road suddenly stalled as an unidentified flying object, UFO, glided across the sky of Livenland. On the night of November 2, 1957, in the small town of Livenland, Texas, USA, a peaceful place amidst endless cotton fields, the residents suddenly experienced an unforgettable night. At around 10:30 p.m., two men were driving a truck on Highway 116 when they suddenly saw a massive glowing object appear right in front of them. Its light blazed like a spotlight, hovering a few meters above the ground. As the car approached, the engine suddenly died, the lights cut out, and the steering wheel went stiff. They tried to restart the car, but it was no use. Then, as that object slowly rose into the sky and disappeared, suddenly the car started up perfectly, as if nothing had ever happened. What seemed like a rare occurrence quickly turned into a flurry of reports. Over 15 accounts from across town poured in within just a few hours. All described the same scenario. A bright object streaked past the front of their cars, the engine suddenly died, the lights went out, and then everything returned to normal after a few minutes. Some witnesses described the object as egg-shaped, approximately 9 to 12 meters long, emitting a bluish-white or bright red light, moving in complete silence. Some saw it hovering gently, while others recounted that it projected a beam of light directly toward a car. Though the perspectives may differ, the effect is exactly the same. The car suddenly shuts off and can only restart once the foreign object disappears. Notably, even the police witnessed this bizarre phenomenon. Police Chief Will Clem, known for being pragmatic and skeptical, personally patrolled that night. After receiving numerous reports, he himself spotted a dimly glowing object on the road and stated that his car radio suddenly became staticky while the engine stalled, even though the accelerator remained unchanged. The Air Force quickly concluded the investigation through Project Blue Book, initially suggesting it might be the Seth Horn phenomenon, an extremely rare and scientifically unexplained atmospheric event. However, numerous witnesses, including police officers, disputed this hypothesis. They insisted that Seth Horn could not move deliberately, cause widespread damage to dozens of vehicles, and then abruptly vanish in the same manner. The Leflin incident is considered one of the most notable cases of a UFO directly affecting electronic equipment, far surpassing vague speculations or ordinary illusions. If the event that day was real and the witnesses did not stage it, then clearly something flew over the town of Defendant, carrying an energy source beyond our current understanding. FALCOLLECT. On May 20, 1967, Stamford Mitrelect, an experienced electrician, was searching for silver ore near Falcon Lake, Canada, when he suddenly spotted two disc-shaped flying objects in the sky. One flew away, while the other landed on a bare rock just a few dozen meters from him. He was struck by a blast of hot gas from the object, resulting in burns. Curious, he stepped closer and discovered an open door. Inside was flooded with a blinding white light, eerily silent, without a single soul in sight. As Mitrelect touched the ship's hull, the metal was scorching hot, searing his skin. Suddenly, a violent surge of hot air erupted from the vessel, hurling him backward, his clothes singed, his head sent flying into oblivion. Mitrelect was admitted to the hospital with a high fever, distinctive circular mesh-like burns, dehydration, and signs of radiation exposure. However, doctors have yet to determine the cause of this condition. The Canadian government conducted an investigation and found no evidence that Mitrelect lied. He also firmly rejected all offers to profit from the incident, never seeking personal fame or gain. This is one of the rare UFO cases that caused actual physical harm and left concrete medical evidence. To this day, those strange burns are still considered unexplainable by human technology. Not a retelling, nor a recollection, but tangible physical evidence. Deep indentations in the ground, trees scorched as if burned, a watch that suddenly stopped working, and fragments of metal so pure they far surpass humanity's technological capabilities. It's all just imagination. Why is the ground scorched? Why are human bodies contaminated with radiation? And what left those footprints that dawn? Perhaps what we call mysterious objects have indeed existed, have made contact, and left traces, not through words but through tangible evidence. The question is, do we dare to face it head-on?